Hey guys, welcome back. I just wanted to make a short video about kind of maps and apps and things like that, just the navigational tools that I carried along the trail. And I've mentioned my data book before, but as I mentioned previously, I didn't carry it for too long. I think I carried it for about 10 days before I just mailed it home. To me it wasn't worth the wait. I didn't need the paper. I discovered that there were a couple of phone apps the day before I left, so I downloaded one of them, and then as I went along the trail I ended up buying these other apps, the PCT apps that worked really well for me. Obviously everybody has their own opinions about paper maps and carrying a compass and a GPS device and relying on their iPhone or their phones for apps and things like that. I'll kind of discuss a couple of those, I guess like debatable issues that people have with paper maps and with GPS devices and things like that. But what I will focus on in this video will be the data book that I mentioned. I'll show you guys a more in-depth picture of it. I'll kind of go through it a little bit. And my family actually kept that one. That was really good for them because they could follow along with me as I traveled north, and then that's how they knew where to send me the packages and things like that, had all the addresses and everything like that. You can also have that data book printed off in sections or whatever and have it sent to you if you want paper maps at postholder.com. I'll give you guys all the links to this stuff below in the description box too. The Half Mile app on my phone, that's what I used, that one, and I also used Thru-Hiker's hiking guide apps for the PCT. Those are $5.99 for each section, so there was actually 3 sections in California because it was so damn big. And then there was just one section for all of Oregon, or one app for all of Oregon and one app for all of Washington. And with the Half Mile app that I just mentioned, you can have those printed off as well if you go to yogibooks.com. You can actually pay them to print them off and they'll mail them to you in color and on front and back and things like that, or you can just print them off yourself if you have a way to do that and you want to print off hundreds of pages. So people that carried paper maps, what they did was would mail themselves sections of it in their resupply boxes, so they weren't carrying a whole book of paper maps, and then they would just like burn them or get rid of them or mail them home or put them in hiker boxes for the people going southbound or whatever that option was. Another thing that hikers carry a lot, especially in the beginning, is a water report, and you can get those. You can get the water report at pctwater.com. I'll also put that link down there. And I knew nothing about the water report before I left for my hike. I think somebody mentioned it to me on like day 6 when I met those guys and hitchhiked with them into town. Somebody mentioned the water report and I was like, what's that? I had no idea. So I took a screenshot of another guy that had his printed off just of the Southern California section, maybe not even the first 600 miles. And the water report changes, every day, every week. And so it's constantly being updated, and you never really know what's reliable because nobody out there is giving constant feedback. I mean, we do give feedback, but it's just tough. So I just relied on talking to a lot of people, and you can also, when you do get service, you can go on to the website and just download the water report and then just save it on your phone, or I just would screenshot everything and then have it in my phone. That way I didn't need service to do it, and I definitely didn't need to have it printed off. So I will show you guys all of those. Hopefully my camera will focus on my iPhone and I will show you all the apps and maybe discuss some of the pros and cons of paper maps versus GPS and apps and things like that. So as always, if you guys have any questions, just comment down below. And I'm kind of getting to the end of this PCT series. So if you guys have any ideas of other topics that you'd like to be covered, specific pertaining to the Pacific Crest Trail, just comment down below and I will get back to that. Another one that I do want to make for sure is about budgeting, like how much did it cost to hike the Pacific Crest Trail, how much did my gear cost and things like that. And I've made an Excel sheet about the amount that I spent on a lot of my gear, so that's pretty accurate. As far as hiking, I'm just going to look back at my credit card bills and things like that and look at that kind of stuff. But so maybe that'll be helpful for you guys, and if you want to know anything specific to that, comment down below. And I hope you guys enjoy the video, and thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Okay, so here are my PCT apps, and this is how I kept it along the trail. So, like I said before, I use the Half Mile PCT app, which is that one. And then these are the Gut Hooks hiking guides. These are the ones that you have to purchase that are $5.99. So they have like I said, there were 3 sections north of California. So here's SoCal, and then middle of California, mid-California, and then Northern California, Oregon, and Washington. So half mile is really cool. I just simulated a position because it couldn't find me. But all of these apps work off satellite, so you don't need to have any of this service. You can actually just put your phone on airplane mode and turn your satellite on. This is what you would do. You just enable your GPS. Of course, mine could not. I don't know why. But anyway, so I just simulated a position. You can enter any PCT mile. I think I entered, what mile did I enter? Like 600. I'm on almost 670. So this is what it looks like. So this is exactly, let's see, where am I? Because I entered a mile down here. Okay, so your position, 600. So this will tell you everything that's ahead of you. So I can see that there's a Robin Bird Spring Trail. So that might be a trail to a spring. And you can read everything about it. It's a 0.07 trip to the spring, I guess. And there's a campsite in 3.88 miles. And by campsite, it just means like a flat ground. It doesn't actually mean there's a picnic table or anything like that waiting for you, just in case for you guys that aren't sure. Willow Springs alternate, so this does include alternate trails. 2.78 Willow alternate trail intersects the PCT. It kind of does a loop, I guess. So so you can use something like this. This is an option. This is totally free. And if it's not picking you up on satellite, you can, pretty much just, like I said, simulate your own position and type in about where you are and it'll find you. But if you get off trail, like right now, if it was working for me, it would tell me exactly how far I am away from the PCT. It'll tell me my elevation from the trail and everything like that. So it's really nice. I've used this many times when I got off trail. So that is an option. Oh, it also has the by crow, so you can look at things by crow. And then that's the where am I, so that's where I simulated. But if if this thing would work for me, and I would type in where I am right now in Texas, it would tell me like how many miles I am away and all of this stuff. So that is an option. And like I said, the half mile maps, if you go to www.yogisbooks.com, you can print all of these off. That'll give you all that stuff. You just have to pay for the printing fee. And then we can look. I love these Gut Hook apps. And I know some people say that some of the mileage is off, and that's true. It does differ from the half miles mileage in a couple of places that I noticed. Like one would say you're at mile 611, when this would tell me I'm at mile 613. But I never saw anything off more than a couple of miles. And the distance was always correct. It's just that the mileage was off. So this is what Southern California looks like. Like I said, it only does a section at a time, so this is how big this section goes to almost Bakersfield. So you can zoom in like this, and you can tap on everything. There's Campo, so it's kind of where we say that we start. This is the Mexican border and monument. Okay, there's also going to be information there too, if you click it. So a prominent pillar marks the southern terminus of the Pacific Crest Trail, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, my dog's eating in the background. You can look at the elevation, which I really like, and then I really hate. I have a love-hate relationship with this because I like knowing how many little humps I'm gonna have to climb, but it's really like devastating when you see that you're gonna have to do like a 4,000 elevation climb or something like that, and like multiple times a day. But anyway, so this is how this one works. You can see, you can find all the water points, things like that. Same as the half mile, except it's just a little more colorful. You find out when you cross roads. This is how I found out where to hitchhike. See, you cross a highway. People can also leave comments on here. So if there's a water source that isn't that great, there will be comments, or if there's poison ivy or whatever. So this stream is likely to be dry during hiking season. Okay, great. So where's the next reliable water? 16.6 miles away. Wow. Okay. Lake Morena. Yep, that's right, because the first section is about 20-mile dry stretch, so that's the first. It's the first dry stretch of the Pacific Crest Trail. That's why I hiked 20 miles the first day, because I didn't want to carry a bunch of water. So you can see that people comment. So this person says, "Great place to camp. Watch out for the goat head puncture seed. Water spigots on. Blah blah blah."
So that's kind of cool. You can also see, okay, it has camping and it has water and it has bathrooms. So that's another option. And then once you get out of here, like I said, you can see everything. You can see that's at 3,000 feet. This is at 2,500. And then, so on top of seeing the map, which I showed you, the elevation info, that's just about the guides. You can go to the data book. You can see data, it kind of gives you its own data book about towns and services, if you're using peaks, camps and shelters, restrooms, privies. I always like to go to the towns and services because that's where you see all the resupply points. So you see that Campo is about where you start, and you also cross it. You start at the border, but then you kind of walk into Campo about 1.5 miles in. Lake Morena is about 20 miles. And then Mount Laguna and Julian, that's my first hitchhike. That's where I hitchhiked the very first time into the town of Julian. And see, this is where it says, Julian, California is known as a hiker-friendly town for its free apple pie for PCT hikers. So that's what I mentioned about in my last video, about how they gave us free pie. And then you can read all the comments from people, things like that. You can see that there are places to stay there. You can see that there are restaurants there. There are 2 small grocery stores in town, the Julian Market and Deli. Things like that. So I really love this app. I mean, to me it was worth $5.99. It took me a while to buy it because I'm kind of frugal in that way and I just didn't want to spend money on it. But it was very nice to have, and I loved having both of these apps because I could compare them. So those are the apps that I used. And this is Yogis Book. I mentioned this to you guys, yogisbook.com. This is where you can print off the half-mile maps. You can print them all off one at a time if you wanted to, like by sections, and they just charge you the printing fee. So that is an option for you guys. And then let's see, this is the water report that I said was at pctwater.com, and you can print it in HTML and PDF format. Like I said, I just downloaded it on my phone and then screenshotted it. But let's see, so you would click on this part 1. This is Campo to Idlewild, so that's quite a distance. In the beginning I saw people with this printed off and they would make it super small and then just carry this, but like I said, I didn't even know what it was, so I obviously didn't carry it. But you see how it says, it'll say specific things like dry, 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 so all of those places where you would expect to find water that are water sources are nothing. Small stagnant pools, things like that. People can comment and send in the data too, and then they update this according to what we send in as we hike. So it'll also mention, see how it says E. coli reared its ugly head multiple times in the Mount Laguna area in 2015, treat all water sources in this area. Things like that. It'll give you different information. So I mean, that is definitely good to have. So that is the water report, and that is where you get it, and I would just try to get it when I got into town. Things like that. So let's see, what else did I mention? Okay, so for a lot of information, you can just go to pcta.org. And this was my data book that I carried. If you guys know, I carried this for the first 10 days and then sent it home. I actually ripped off the front cover. But this is the Pacific Crest Trail data book. I think this is the most updated one. I'm not sure. So this is, you can also print these off, like I said, online. If you go to postholer.com, www.postholer.com, you can print off all these and you can carry them by section or whatever you want to do. So this is all I had when planning my hike, and obviously I didn't use it very much, and I didn't do much planning beforehand. Like, I don't even think I looked at it. Yeah, I mean, I did look at it because I highlighted a few things, but so general delivery, there's Campo, and then it tells you what's there. Okay, you have a PO, you have water, PO. So this is why my dad made copies of all this, because this has all the information about where to send stuff. So this was good for the person back home to have a copy of if you have somebody sending you packages. That's why I highlighted all these POs, water, POs, grocery, motel, restaurants, things like that. So this is an option. This is just a lot to carry. That's obviously why I sent it back, because it was stupid for me to carry the whole book. But I could have just, started ripping out pages. I just wanted to keep it intact. I did take some notes here. So I must have, this is Lake Morena. So I tried to plan out the first few days using this book. But anyway, this is the data book. And It's not as reliable as those apps because, like I said, with the apps, you can send in people send in comments and it will tell you about the different water and whether it was a good water source or whatever. This doesn't have that, as you can see. I mean, this was written, you know, over a year ago, and it just has a W for water. So it doesn't describe what kind of water is going to be there, whether water was there or is going to be there, or anything like that. It just tells you what's there at what mileage of the between here and there. So yeah, but general delivery, see, that's the post office in Ashland, Oregon, so that's where you would send it, and different things like that. Tells you Crater Lake, things like that. So Elk Lake Resort, I think I went there, Lolly. Yeah, so anyway, that is the data book, so that is another option. Like I said, you can print these off too, front and back. I think you just pay for printing fees once again, but yeah. Hey guys, so I wanted to give you guys a little bit of information about the maps first, the GPS, and the trail itself along the Pacific Crest Trail. And I just threw in some photos in here just to give you guys something to look at. So the PCT is fairly well marked along most of its length, but it is still common for hikers to lose the trail. And that's either because it's buried in snow or because we can run into unmarked trail junctions, and that's typically when I would walk off trail. It's just when it crossed an intersection of something else and I just kind of kept walking without paying much attention. So in that way, it is important that you bring maps or GPS so you don't get lost in those kinds of situations. I know that it is recommended that hikers should carry a small compass so they can set, you know, a bearing in an emergency situation, just so they can do a backcountry bailout. I carried a compass, I think, for the first 10 days, and then that was just kind of it. My app worked really well, and I also had my satellite messenger, so if all else failed, I think I would have been able to figure it out. But some thru-hikers, I'd say a majority of thru-hikers do carry paper maps, and I showed you the different paper maps that are printable and things like that you guys can do. Those are lightweight, and they give you a lot of information about the terrain that you're hiking that a GPS can't always give you, you know, that shows you elevation changes and alternate routes and off-trail features. But those apps that I showed you do give you those things as well. And another, I guess, thing to consider is that, you know, when the trail's buried under a foot of snow, using a GPS and maps is going to take you a really long time to navigate, as opposed to just using a GPS device that'll tell you how many feet away you are from the trail. You know, you're 200 feet above the trail, and it's, you know, 0.4 miles northeast of where you are. So those are just things to think about, and I hope you guys enjoyed this.